fully understood what's happened with the augmented sevenths that have been thrown your way from Kijiji.
Yes.
So Aaron connects you with somebody in Zimbabwe, and what happens there?
So what happened at the time, my idea has also, my brain has started working on, maybe I could produce stuff for NLC, like some worship music, some worship songs. By this time I had started now really recording, writing songs that were usable in a church setting, like good enough to actually be used. So all of this kind of culminates at the same time when I'm thinking about maybe we could do some some worship church, not Rebekah Dawn, but church projects. And then Aaron mentions these guys in Zimbabwe, and he's like, you should connect with them. I think they're much more in line with
your sound.
Yes, with your sound. And so I listened to the church that, the producer and everybody was a part of. They had produced some church albums. So when I listened to their church albums, I was floored. First of all, it did not sound like Africa. I was like, this cannot be Africa. Like, it just can't be.
The quality is too crazy.
It was so good. And so I really got excited for the church, for NLC, for our worship music. It still in my head wasn't Rebekah Dawn's going to be an artist. I'm still thinking worship leader, my team, our worship music. So when he mentioned, these guys and this team and these awesome production guys in Zimbabwe, this is right before Kirk Franklin, the Extreme Weekend for Kirk Franklin. And so I get this idea of, and I pitched it to my parents and they loved it, for maybe I should go record like 6 songs that we've done, like Hope of the World, Africa Arise, a couple of different songs I've written. We've used them in our church services.
But we haven't recorded them.
I had done a couple of things, like Kanji helped me do, and Aaron helped me. Was it Aaron or Gideon Kimanzi? I think it was Gideon Kimanzi, actually. They produced a song I had done as an opener for our missions conference, and we had Africa Arise somewhere in the midst of all that. So I'd done a couple of projects, but not like, here's a song, let's do it. It's a worship song. It was more like event or specials, if we can call it that. So the idea was, I'm going to go record some songs. And the reason I'm going to record these songs is because now I want to fundraise to open NLC studio, which means I need equipment, which means I need money. So if I go record these songs, then I can now let people know this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I have a reference point now for, listen to this song. This is what I want to record in NLC. This is why you need to give me money so I can buy computers and all this kind of stuff. So, and then it also served for, because I was so involved with the admin side of Kirk's Extreme Weekend, I didn't have all this time for my choir. And so I thought, if we record these songs, we already have tracks, backing tracks for the choir to now do, what did we do that year? You Set Me Free. I can't, The Battle Is the Lord's. Yeah. So I contact these guys in Zimbabwe. I call this producer and I'm like, hey, would you be open? He's like, yes. So I fly to Zimbabwe. And this is where, for reals, for true, my heart totally was like, this is what I'm going to do this. I'm going to record. I'm going to produce, because I found someone who got my sound. Like, we just clicked. I learned, I would attribute 70% of what I know about production to the experience that started there, and the producer that I worked with. And I mean, he was just, it was just the most unbelievable experience for me to be able to sit down with someone and not just explain, here's my sound. And see, Richie, here's a problem I have a lot of times is I find that producers tend to want to put their sound on your song instead of help you come up with your sound. And this guy sits down with me and he hears me. He asks me questions like, well, what kind of instruments do you like? Who do you listen to? What music do you love? Like, for him to now start understanding
who you are,
who I am, and what I'm expecting it to sound like. And so he does these songs for me that all I can tell you is I would just cry. I would sit in the studio and just cry that I can't believe I sound this good. I can't believe my song sounds this good. I can't believe someone so gifted who's not pushy about, he lets me have, and like, by this point I can play piano, I'm a songwriter, so he gives me a lot of creative direction, like even some of my ideas that are kind of out there. I'm like, well, he's always like, let's try. The worst that happened is it sounds terrible, and then we throw it away. So we did these 6 songs. I can't even explain it. I was just like, this is the best thing ever.
Jesus, you are the hope of the world. You are the hope of the nations. You are the healer of broken lives. Jesus, you are the hope of the world. Redeemer of all generations. You are the light in the darkness that shines. Oh, Jesus, you are the hope of the world. You are the hope of the nations. You are the healer of broken lives. Jesus, you are the hope of the world. Redeemer of all generations. You are the light in the darkness that shines.
So I come home, we do Extreme Weekend, we do several of the songs over the weekend. Extreme for me with Kirk was awesome. That's the weekend Kirk actually called me up to come and sing with him on stage. And I was literally, at the time he called me, I'm in the stadium running to put out some fire in the green room. Something was going wrong. And I'm literally in a full-blown run. And I hear from stage, where Rebekah at? And I literally just start running to the stage. So by the time I get to the stage, I'm breathless. Now I'm worried that I'm on camera, I'm sweating. I'm like, what am I even wearing? And he just hands me a microphone. He's like, sing, girl. And they're doing the song, I am here, you don't have to worry. I can see. My mind goes
Lean on me.
blank. I don't know any of the words. I'm in front of tens of thousands of people. In fact, my husband was in the audience that day. And I didn't even know him then. And so I just stand there, and all I remember is the opening. So I just sing, I am here. Thank God. Kirk is standing there. He's standing with his microphone like this, and he's looking at me like, And he goes, you don't have to worry. You don't have to. I can see your tears. Your tears. Oh, I was like, Kirk, I don't know if you're doing this on purpose or if this is the Holy Ghost, but man, otherwise, man, I've just started making up my own words here. Like, hey, my mind went so blank. So the choir I was able to do a few of my songs, now as NLC. We did a couple of the songs now I'd recorded in Zimbabwe.
But I've been let go. You set me free. You set me free. You set me free. Thank you, Lord. No more chains. You set me free. Oh, you set me free. You set me free. Thank you, Lord. No more chains. Oh, let everything that has breath praise the Lord. You have set me free. Now I will sing and praise you. I will praise you, Lord. You set me free. I will sing and praise you. Let the people sing.
So when that's done, now we get the finances together to open our own studio. So
Okay, that's such a. I love how you thought about getting the finances to open, and
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of this from somebody who's per se following your footsteps from a leadership perspective.
Yeah.
You went, recorded these songs, and then came and said, guys, we would like to create more of our own songs
Yeah.
that can even be used across other churches.
Yes.
And we have the capability to produce. We just don't have the equipment.
Yes.
Help us get it.
Yeah.
Through your giving.
Yeah.
And here's an example.
Yes.
Buy this CD or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's how you financed and bought.
Yeah. So through that, we had a couple of people make just really generous donations towards the vision. And for me, the vision was, I want to equip the church. For me, from day one, Rebekah Dawn was never in my head. What was in my head is there is a song in Africa. There is a sound in Africa. And I found even in Nairobi at that time, and this is still the very beginning, where production and producers are up and coming. Artists are really kind of finding their own in Kenya and in Nairobi. And this is coming through now, Limidex, Gospel Fathers, all these guys where we're starting to now for real develop our own identity as musicians and gospel ministers in Kenya, and I loved it. But where I saw a niche for me was the church. I didn't feel like there were a lot of worship albums coming out. A lot of them were artists and performers, which is great, and I loved it. But I just was like, someone needs to.
We need to do less Don Moen, which is nothing wrong with his songs.
Yeah.
Because there's a space, there's a song for us to do our own.
Yeah. But we have our own songs, and our worship is so powerful. Like, just, you go to Shags and get into some church, you wait, they start singing. Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's something, it's just beautiful. And so for me, it was, at that point, we've got our Nairobi Lighthouse Church, but we have several other churches connected to us. We have other churches in Africa. And I was like, I want to equip the worship leaders. I want to equip the teams. I want to teach nations.
At this time, you had a few church plants.
Yes.
So, that is so powerful.
Yeah.
You already had the audience to try this out.
Yes. Well, and not just to try
it out.
Not
only try out, to do it.
To do it, to teach, to record them. I'm very passionate about vernacular praise and worship. I feel like, as the world becomes more one, which is wonderful, I feel like the up and coming generations are losing some of their heritage
culture.
And so all this was in my head now about starting the studio of, I want to be able to record our worship. I want to be able to record other churches' worship. I want to be able to record vernacular music. That was really my heartbeat, is I want to be able to enable and equip the church. So we get our finance together.
What year is this that you now finally get the studio?
This was in 2008. So when we first got it opened, it wasn't open like, okay, I'm a producer now. I have all the stuff. Now I don't know what I'm doing. So the guys that I'd connected with in Zimbabwe, I actually flew them up to Nairobi to spend time to teach me production, how to use Logic, how to work my way around this. We did several projects together that were for the purpose of me learning. But again, this is where I just love the tapestry that God weaves in our lives. Because looking back, it's like just being in studio with Aaron and Gideon Kimanzi. I wasn't watching them for the purpose of learning, but I watched them do so much that I already had such a good foundation that I kind of know what this button does and what this button does.
And let me say this. At this time, we're not talking 2020 when everybody has a studio in their house.
Yeah.
Studios were not as popular as you're seeing. They were rare.
Very rare. And also, education was very rare. Because YouTube wasn't as big of a thing where you can just go watch tutorials for every little problem that you have.
YouTube started in 2008. So let's just give a context example of that.
So I didn't have the ability to, I'm having this EQ problem. Let me just go into YouTube real quick and see how to solve this. Now I feel like this generation is without excuse, honestly, because any problem I have in Logic now, I don't have to call anybody. I just go to YouTube and say, hey, Mom, this compressor isn't working. What do I do? And it's like, well, here are 3 million videos about a compressor in Logic. So
in fact, it's so funny you said that. There were 2 Mac guys. When it came to Mac and Logic, you call Julian Masharia or you call Tim Rimbui.
So one of the other guys I would also call a lot for help was Bosire.
Desmond Bosire.
Yes, he knew a lot. And then because Gideon used Cubase and I was using Logic. So Gideon was so super helpful, and he knows Logic. Like, Gideon, I know, Gideon knows Logic, but he was much more familiar with Cubase. So through Aaron.
He still refused to move. I'm like, good ye.
Hey, give the man props for loyalty, man. He likes his program.
But hey, it works. And that's another thing. It works for you.
The end product justifies it, man.
Yeah.
So I invested a lot of time in learning how to make it work, and then I started with church projects. The first full-length project I ever produced was called Facing Fear, and it's still one of my favorite projects I've ever done to date. It was our pastor had preached an entire series for weeks called Facing Fear, and So I took snippets. Because we record audio every Sunday, we have since the church began. So we had all this audio of all of his messages. So I took snippets of it, the main points, inspirational, and then I put it's like to an hour of music. So I recorded an hour of just background music, and then so now you can listen to the entire series in about an hour. You can play it in your car at home. I mean, I was so jazzed with this awesome idea that I had.
That idea is really
yeah.
good.
So it's very cool. So on the Facing Fear album, there was the track with pastor's voice, and God will never leave you, he will never forsake you, and you have all this music behind. It's emotional, it's like Disney. And then the second track was now just the music, about an hour of music without any vocals. Now you could use that in your prayer time or your quiet time. So that was my first project. And then we have done so many church projects since then. My first worship project is called Prepare the Way. It still is on iTunes. I keep vacillating with I should take it down. Is it on iTunes?
We'll know.
Hey, we'll find out. But one of the things that the guy who was teaching me was saying, and I thought this was such a critical lesson for producers, is he said, we always want to apply our new knowledge on our old project. Like now that I know better, I tend to want to go and fix it. Because I listened to that first worship project and I'm like, hey, it's rough.
But then it wasn't.
It wasn't then.
It was amazing.
It was awesome. So that was Gideon actually mixed and mastered that for me, because I still wasn't at a place yet where I felt comfortable mixing and mastering.
Do you mix and master now?
I do now, yes.
Yo!
Yeah, I mix and master all my stuff. So he did the mixing and mastering, and we did that project. We've done several since then. Every album since then until our last two have been mixed and mastered in South Africa.
Yes.
But I've taken them to South Africa because now it's like, now I've got the production creative process down. Now I need to learn about mixing and mastering. So I would take my projects to South Africa and ask the guys who were mastering and mixing them, I want to be in with you.
Yeah.
While you're doing this, talk me through what are you doing?
And let me ask questions.
Let me ask questions. So those were
You've
always...
got a learning spirit that I didn't know. That's absolutely amazing, by the way.
Yeah, that was very, very key for me. And again, also having to acknowledge, because I don't have two functioning ears, I hear sound differently than a lot of people. So the guys that were teaching me, the guy that taught me, one of the best things he told me is, get music you already know is awesome. You already know it's been mixed. Get a Kirk Franklin or for praise and worship, a Hillsong album or a Bethel album or whatever the case may be, that you already know this has been mixed and mastered by professionals. Fred Hammond, oh my gosh, yes. And it's been mixed and mastered by professionals, and it's been mixed and mastered with a lot of money. Like this, the best equipment has been used on this. Drag it into your project. Listen to theirs, mix
Compare
yours. Listen to theirs, mix yours. And that was so key for me, because now, even though I might be hearing it differently than you are, as long as I'm making what I'm hearing sound like that, I know I'm bringing it to a good international standard. So I did that. So project after project.
This is where sometimes as an artist you can run in the playhouse, but me, I don't want you to run, because you have a lot of albums. There's a lot of albums I've seen that are by the church, but in a lot of those albums you have a song or two. You're the one who's
I have all of them. They're all mine.
Exactly. So I mean, like, literally, I was even telling you, like, Rebekah, you may not have your own album, but I think you've got like 7 albums.
Yeah. Well, right now I have about 130 songs that have been produced and are out there here.
That is insane.
Yeah, it is. So the albums.
So the first one was the Fear, Facing Fear, and then
Prepare the Way, and then after that, honestly.
So in Prepare the Way, did you jump on a song?
I'm on almost all of them because
how many songs are we talking about?
Prepare the Way was a 12-track album.
Yep.
And then
and let's also say you are the producer.
Yes, I am the producer.
Whoa.
So I produced the album, I wrote or co-wrote all of the songs, and then I am the worship leader at my church. Like, so my role right now, and has been since 2010, is I'm the creative director at Nairobi Lighthouse Church. So I oversee all of our creative teams, all of our tech teams, and I'm one of the worship leaders. Myself and Pastor Kevin Malu, we're the two main worship leaders at NLC. So by virtue of the fact that I am the worship leader at church, that's why I lead worship on the album. It's not
I get.
me, I'm producing, so I'm putting myself on this song. It's that I'm producing an album for NLC, and the worship leader of NLC is Rebekah Dawn and Kevin Malu. So we lead all of the songs there. My team, I got all my team to come in and do BVs. And that was, again, it's just such a fun learning process for me, for them. This is the first time a lot of them had ever been in studio. So we did that one. We've done Christmas albums.
Yes, let's talk about the Christmas one. There's one where, in fact, I've got it written down here. It's the with us still.
With Us Still, yeah.
Yeah.
With Us Still is probably one of my favorite projects I've done to date. So With Us Still, that was one of the ones that was mixed and mastered in South Africa. And yeah,
that was the first Christmas album that you're doing.
Yeah. Actually, I'm in the middle of doing my second one.
Oh,
We're about to
nice.
put out our second one, yeah, this year, hopefully. Yeah, so we did a Christmas album. Again, Pastor Kevin Malu, he's my co-worship leader, but we also co-write a lot. We write very well together, and I'm a big believer in co-writing, because I think that if you have someone who has similar values as you, co-writing brings more to the table.
Yep.
So we co-wrote that. We did. We've done kids albums for our kids' church.
You've even done an instrumental.
I've done an instrumental for newborns and infants.
I thought that was
Nap
amazing.
time, yeah. And then I've done, of course, more worship albums for the church, 2 more worship albums for the church.
Okay, what are those? Like, don't rush over these things. There's some amazing, there's some amazing big songs that actually, like the song Bilo Away.
Yeah, Bilo Away, that was on Meant for More.
Actually, let me tell you about Bilo Away. I'm doing this project with my wife called 52 Weeks, 52 Songs with Gideon Kimanzi. And my wife is obsessed with this song called Bilo Away. This is not even the version that has later on went to have Kathy Kuna.
Yeah.
Because you first did it in yourself.
Yep.
Showing you how we are fans right here.
Noted.
That song is amazing. Like literally. In fact, I went and grabbed this video right here. and that's you performing it live, but somebody just took it to the phone because I was just like this. I can't believe how amazing this song. Let's talk about Bilo Away.
So Bilo Away is actually the first Swahili worship song I ever wrote. I wrote it on a Saturday at choir practice because at that time I felt the need for a modern sounding Swahili worship song. So I was at my piano, the choir was coming in for rehearsal, and my now brother-in-law, who was just then a friend of mine, was setting up sound. And so I was
setting up sound and setting up other things.
Yeah. He was there. So I was running. I always run my Swahili by someone else because I am known for making serious mistakes in Swahili. So I'm standing there and I just had this chord progression and whatever. So I asked him, like, what do you say? Is this right? Correct? And he said, yes. So I just wrote it, the original version, just one verse and chorus. And I was like, I like it. So the choir came that afternoon. I taught them, and we did it the following day in church for worship. So that was the first Swahili worship song that I ever wrote.
That song is so amazing. I love you're right, the simplicity of it. In fact, that was a template we took when we went to Gidi. We're like, want to copy this.
Oh, cool.
But it backfired. It's one of those songs we never released. How did Kathy Kuna then end up coming and being on that song?
Okay, so when we did Meant for More, so the original Bilo Away was on Prepare the Way. And by the time when we did Meant for More, by that time I'd done a Christmas album, a kids album, like I'd grown very much. And I always felt from day one that Bilo Away didn't feel done to me. It felt like it needs another verse. It didn't feel finished. So I'd always had it in the back of my mind, like I should redo this song and do another verse. And then Pastor Kathy's a great friend of mine. And so it was just kind of a random, hey, you want to do this song? So she said, yes. So cool, let's do it. And that's how it happened.
Siwezi kuimba bila wewe, sisongi mbele bila wewe Yesu, siwezi kuishi bila wewe, uwezo wangu ni wewe tu, roho tamani na kuhitaji Yesu, nafsi yangu ya kulilia na kuhitaji Yesu. Ninachotafuta ndiyo wewe, sitosheki na kingine ila wewe Yesu, singefika nilipo bila wewe, ndoto yangu ni wewe tu, roho ya kutamani na kuhitaji Yesu, nafsi yangu ya kulilia
Okay, now that one you released, or that one, I'm not sure if she's the one who released it or you're the one who released it, but that one got some airplay.
Yeah, so Meant for More, we launched that. We had a proper launch for that one. Prepare the Way was more just, hey church, we
got a new album out.
Go get it. Yeah.
Here's a special, we'll sing a song from it.
Exactly.
It's at the CD desk.
Yes, and then also Prepare the Way, for the most part, was songs we had already written and done in church. There was nothing new on it. It was songs we've already done. This is something actually I picked up from Hillsong. This is a very clever thing. Hillsong releases albums at the end of their songs rotations. They don't write new material. By the time they record their album, the church knows the songs. And the reasons they do that is for the videos. They don't want people to have to stand and just look at the screen for the words, because then you're not getting the atmosphere you want.
Yep.
So they write songs, put them in rotation, sing them for many weeks before they ever record them, so that the congregation can engage. And that's what they want on their videos. So...
man, Rebekah, you're dropping some wisdom, man. Like,
Yeah.
is there something you can just go?
Yeah.
I'll give context of who did that. Mavuno. Mavuno, the song that you're saying, Under the Rock, was first sung. And this is before you had words on screens and things like that.
Yeah.
So the church used to sing it. So by the time they were doing the live recording, even the dance move and all that was already there. So
Yeah.
you can feel the bigger connection as compared to
Yes.
other songs where people are, say, reading.
Yeah. Or not really able to engage, because even though the song's great and they're being ministered to, they can't engage with it yet because they don't know it. So all
Very
of our
sharp.
all of our albums that we've done, we've tried to put several, if not all of the songs in rotation before we record the album. But Meant for More was our first album that we actually had a launch. Like we did a worship night on a Friday night. Come church, we're launching our new album. So we had some new songs that the church had never heard, but several, most that they knew.
He suffered the cross and he gave his all for us, to break every chain and tear down the walls. The price of our freedom was the Son of God, his life freely given. What did he save us for? We were meant for so much more. For his kingdom to come, his will to be done, as in heaven, here on earth. We are meant for so much more. So we will arise and take our place as a radical generation, meant for more.
So that was Meant for More. So that's when we had Bilo Away, the remake of Bilo Away on it. And then Meant for More is also where I put the song with me and Abel Chungu.
We will not fear.